The accident happened just after our class reunion. Ethan and I were trapped in the crumpled remains of a four-door sedan, the metal twisted into an unrecognizable shape. To get either of us out, a leg would have to be cut. The car, leaking fuel, could become an inferno at any second. The first rescue team on the scene was, ironically, led by my wife's own unit. One of her subordinates, torn by the situation, spoke into his radio, his voice strained. "Captain, your husband is in bad shape. Should we prioritize him?" Clara arrived, took the electric saw from her colleague, and walked towards me with an expression I couldn't read. "Ethan is an actor," she stated, her voice flat and devoid of emotion. "He can't live without his legs." The cold, hard steel of the saw blade pressed against my knee. I reached out and grabbed her hand, my vision blurred by tears. I whispered, my voice cracking. "I have a bleeding disorder, Clara. If I lose my leg, I'll die too." In that desperate moment, I clung to the hope that some flicker of feeling for me remained within her. If not love, then maybe 7 years of shared history had at least earned me some basic human compassion. All I received in return was a blinding, all-consuming pain shooting up from my knee. With no anesthetic, Clara brought the buzzing saw down, tearing through flesh and bone. Blood sprayed into my mouth, a coppery, bitter taste that mixed with the salt of my tears. The agony was so intense I nearly blacked out. Through the haze of pain, Clara's cold, indifferent voice echoed around me like a curse. "Liam, Ethan is an actor. Don't be so selfish." I slumped against the ruined back seat of the car, the fight draining out of me. My heart, which had been so full of hope for so long, felt like it was turning to dust inside my chest. The physical torment of my severed leg was nothing compared to the profound, heart-wrenching ache that had taken root there. We had been married for 7 years. Even a strayed dog would have developed a sense of loyalty in that time. Why then was Clara, a living, breathing person, always so distant, so impossibly cold? They loaded me onto a stretcher and into an ambulance, but my blood was already soaking through the thin blankets, dripping steadily onto the floor. In my rapidly dimming vision, everything was tinged with red. I caught a final glimpse of Ethan, clinging to Clara, sobbing about how scared he was. As Clara helped him into another vehicle, I drew my last breath. My soul seemed to drift out of my body, pulling away from the ambulance and floating weightlessly towards Clara's car. Inside, Ethan was holding her hand tightly, his brow furrowed with anxiety. "Clara, is my leg broken? Will I be able to stand again?" She comforted him with a softness I had never known. "I'm here. Your leg will be fine. Just get some rest. When you wake up, everything will be better." Watching them, a sharp pain, even in my non-physical form, pierced through me. In 7 years of marriage, Clara had always been so frigid. She never offered a single word of comfort. I had always told myself it was just her personality, her nature to be reserved. That illusion shattered a year ago, when Ethan returned to the country. She came home drunk one night and confessed, her words slurring. "Liam, I regret marrying you. I only ever wanted to be with Ethan. I didn't have a choice back then. And now I regret it every day." 7 years prior, Clara's father had been sent to prison, and her mother had fallen gravely ill. With no one else to turn to, she came to me. On the night before our college graduation, she cornered me outside the dorms. The delicate, beautiful girl, slightly tipsy, wrapped her arms around me. "Liam, do you like me?" My crush on her was an open secret among our friends, but hearing her ask me so directly left me speechless. She held on tighter, her voice strained with unshed tears. "Marry me, and lend me $400,000. $400,000 wasn't a significant amount for my family. Seeing the exhaustion and desperation in her red-rimmed eyes, I trembled as I heard myself say, "Okay." I truly liked her. Enough to believe I could buy her companionship if that was the only way. Clara was a woman who kept her word. The day her mother's surgery was declared a success, she married me. I suppose she never loved me. On our wedding night, she wouldn't let me touch her. She turned her back to me, staring at a photograph of Ethan all night. I held on to the belief that with time, living day by day, I could eventually win her heart. Instead, her quiet indifference slowly hardened into a palpable resentment. As she established herself in the city, her career as a rescue captain taking off, I became a living reminder of a past she was desperate to forget. I was a symbol of her weakness, a festering wound she kept hidden, constantly reminding her of the days she had to beg and trade her pride for money. She despised me with the same intensity that she despised her own past self. I suppose now that I'm gone, she finally feels liberated. Lost in these painful memories, I was pulled back to the present as Clara helped Ethan settle into his hospital room. After a series of checks, it was determined that Ethan was perfectly fine. One of Clara's subordinates approached her hesitantly. "Captain, maybe you should go see your husband. He lost a leg. It's a very serious situation." Clara started to get up, but Ethan immediately clung to her hand, his eyes red and filled with a pitiful vulnerability. "Clara, I'm scared. What if I wake up and my leg is gone? Can you please stay with me?" He spoke softly, silent tears rolling down his cheeks like a frightened bird. Clara couldn't bear it. She gently tucked the blanket around him. "Don't worry. I'm right here with you." The subordinate grew more anxious. "Captain, he's going into surgery now. Shouldn't you be there?" Clara's face flushed with a mixture of embarrassment and anger. "What good can I do there? Am I a doctor, a nurse? Can I perform the surgery myself? Can I reattach his leg?" Each word she spoke was a blow, striking deep into my soul and shaking me to my core. 7 years. It doesn't take that long for a pet to develop affection. I had poured everything I had into our family, into our marriage, and it hadn't earned me a single ounce of her love. "You're free now, Clara. No one will ever stand in the way of your true love again." The frustrated subordinate finally gave up and walked away. A moment later, Clara's phone rang. It was her mother, my mother-in-law. "Clara, where are you? You need to come to the hospital to see Liam." My mother-in-law was sobbing uncontrollably. Her words filled me with a strange, heartbreaking warmth. She always said my family had saved her life and went out of her way to treat me like her own son. I had just promised her I'd take her hiking next weekend. I guess that's a promise I won't be able to keep. Clara was about to answer when Ethan clung to her again, tearfully whispering, "Tell her there's an emergency at work. I'll call back later." Her mother's pleas went unanswered. Clara simply turned off her phone. I couldn't help but let out a bitter, silent chuckle. Her love for him runs as deep as the ocean. It would be rude of me not to be dead at this point. Ethan wrapped his arms tightly around Clara's waist and lowered his voice. "Clara, I really envy Liam. He has family, friends. Even your mom loves him so much. But I have nothing. I only have you. Please, don't leave me." Clara's hand hovered for a moment before it came to rest gently on his shoulder. She stayed with him at the hospital for 2 full days. She clumsily but carefully helped him wash his face and comb his hair. She even did his laundry every day. I felt like a thief, hiding in the corner of the room, watching my own wife openly shower another man with the affection I had craved for years. My heart was a sour, bitter knot. I remember a time I was sick with a high fever, and all I wanted was a glass of water. She refused. When I hoarsely asked her why she couldn't be just a little kinder, she just said she was pampered growing up and didn't know how to take care of people. But seeing her now, Nervously tending to Ethan while looking up information online, I finally understood. She wasn't incapable of love. She just didn't love me. On the third day, my best friend Daniel showed up, holding my death certificate. "You bastard!" he shouted as he stormed into the room. "Liam is lying all alone in the morgue, and you're here getting cozy with him." The moment he entered, he slapped Clara across the face. She didn't see it coming, and red finger marks instantly appeared on her cheek. Clara gritted her teeth, holding back her anger. "Liam is your brother. Watch your words. Is it right for you to curse him dead every time you speak?" "Liam is your husband," Daniel retorted, his voice thick with grief. "And you haven't shown an ounce of concern for him while you dote on another man. Is that right?" Without hesitating, he slapped her again. Perhaps feeling the sting of truth in his words, Clara's face darkened. "Enough. I'm only tolerating this because you're Liam's friend. Don't push your luck. I've saved countless lives and amputated more limbs than I can count. His wound wasn't in a critical location, and with paramedics on site, there was no way he could have died." Daniel's face was now streaked with tears. He grabbed the half-empty water bottle from the nightstand and threw its contents in her face. "Clara, whose wife are you? Do you really not know that Liam has a clotting disorder? You think you're so pure and noble, trading his leg for this man's career out of some twisted sense of love? But what about Liam? What right did he have to just die?" Clara's expression shifted between flushed and pale before she finally managed to speak. "I'll get him the best prosthetic leg. I'll find him the best doctor." Daniel, sobbing uncontrollably, suddenly pulled a small knife from his bag. "Fine, I have money. I'll get Ethan the best prosthetic, too. But first, I'm going to make him pay a leg for my brother's life." Ethan, terrified, scrambled off the bed. Clara jumped in front of him, wrestling the knife away with her bare hands. Blood dripped from her palm as she threw her blood-stained phone at Daniel, shouting fiercely, "Enough! Even madness has its limits. Liam has been sending abusive messages to Ethan all day. How could he possibly be dead?" In disbelief, I floated closer to peer at the texts on the screen. "Stealing someone's wife, you scumbag! Why don't you just die? A miserable person like you doesn't deserve to be happy." Line after line of curses, too vile to read. I turned to Clara, wanting to shake her, to tell her that I didn't send those texts. I'm already dead. How could a dead man send text messages? Apparently enraged that her beloved had been insulted, Clara was visibly fuming. She took a deep breath. "You all had better stop these stupid tricks. He's my husband. Even if he lost a leg, I would still take care of him for the rest of his life. When Ethan recovers, I'll take Liam to the best hospital in the country. I'll make sure his life is no different from anyone else's." Daniel sneered, his voice dripping with cynicism as tears streamed down his face. "Clara, stop acting. I'm afraid Liam would find it sickening, even in the afterlife." At these words, Clara suddenly erupted. She snatched her phone and dialed the number that had sent the messages. "You just want me to call you out on it, don't you?" The call connected, but the other end was silent. Clara shouted into the phone, her voice filled with rage. "Liam, speak up! If you keep pretending, I'll divorce you right now." I gave a nonchalant, spectral smirk. "Sorry, Clara. This time you can only be a widow." Daniel, completely incensed by her behavior, threw the death certificate at her face. "It's laid out right here in black and white, Clara. Even your own mother signed it. Open your eyes and look." My non-existent heart raced with anticipation. "Soon, Clara, you'll know I'm truly gone." Daniel was so furious his lips were trembling. He pointed at her, enunciating each word. "Open your eyes wide and look carefully. The cause of Liam's death was excessive bleeding due to a congenital clotting disorder. Because you amputated his leg, Clara, he died. You're his murderer." Her face was grim as she snatched the crumpled paper. Her eyes scanned the few lines of text as if trying to force a different truth from them. Ethan peeked out from behind her, a guilty look on his face. "Clara, it's all my fault," he sobbed, hugging his own shoulders. "Liam must be angry with you. He probably bought that death report online to trick you into going back to him. You should go. Don't worry about me. I'll be fine. It must be hard on your mom, having to worry at her age." Predictably, his words were all it took to make the wavering Clara erupt in fury. She ripped the death certificate into pieces. "Liam has really gotten smart, hasn't he? He's even learned to get fake documents to deceive me. What does he take my mother for? A maid he can order around? He knew she was kind-hearted, so he forced her to help him lie. I never should have saved him. I should have just left him stuck in that wreckage to think about how to be a good husband." Each word was a razor blade. It turns out that when your heartache reaches its absolute limit, you start to laugh. But the more I laughed, the more tears fell. I didn't learn how to be a good husband in this life, Clara, and I have no desire to try again in the next. Daniel just stared at her in disbelief. "Liam is right there in the hospital morgue. Come with me. Say these things to his face." Clara looked completely fed up, her patience exhausted. She picked up her phone, opened her chat with me, and furiously sent what must have been a dozen voice messages in a row. "Liam, if you don't reply, don't you ever bother coming back home? Keep this up, and don't blame me when I turn my back on you for good. Stop messing with my mom. How long are you going to keep this act up? I regret marrying you. If I had known you were this kind of person, I would have ended things with you years ago." Her eyes were red, her chest heaving with rage. The perpetually calm Clara had finally lost her composure. And it was because of me. Too bad she was destined for disappointment. I really was dead. She couldn't threaten me with divorce anymore. Daniel stood by, watching her breakdown, his anger slowly morphing into a cold mockery. After a moment, he spoke, his voice flat. "Just leave, Clara. Don't disturb Liam's journey to the afterlife." With that, he turned and left, utterly defeated. I pitied Daniel's exhaustion, yet my soul couldn't help but follow Clara as she left the room. She shot a hateful glare at Daniel's retreating back, and then, after whispering a few soft words of comfort to Ethan, she slipped out the door. Her steps were light as she walked to her car, occasionally pulling out a second phone I had never seen before to send messages. No wonder I could never get in touch with her when she was on call. She had a secret phone I knew nothing about. It soon became clear why she had left. Clara parked her car in front of a well-known bespoke tailor shop. "Hi, I'm here to pick up the suit I ordered last month." A salesperson smiled warmly and brought out an exquisite, handmade suit. "Miss Clara, this is the size you requested. Would you like him to try it on?" Clara smiled casually, measuring the shoulders with her hand. "No need, it will fit perfectly." I drifted behind her. The ache in my chest, so profound it had become a dull numbness. 7 years of marriage, and she never once remembered my birthday or our anniversary. She never knew my clothing size, my shoe size, or what I liked. Even when I asked her to get me a gift in advance, she would just transfer some money to my account. Yet here she was, knowing another man's measurements by heart, with just a glance. She hadn't changed. She had just never loved me. She had them wrap it up carefully and then drove to a nearby dessert shop. Clara, who always claimed to hate sweets, leaned over the counter, seriously studying the delicate pastries she used to scoff at. "Do you have anything that's low in sugar and doesn't have mango? My boyfriend is allergic." Her voice was gentle. When the staff praised her for being so thoughtful, my chest constricted with a pain so sharp I felt like I might dissipate entirely. She left with the beautifully packaged treats, eager to return to the hospital. I sat in the back of her car, watching her cradle the box carefully as she drove, the ache in my chest making it hard to think. Halfway there, she slammed on the brakes, a deep frown on her face as she looked to her right. I followed her gaze and saw two of her old college friends, Sophie and Maya, buying funeral wreaths from a roadside vendor. "What's going on?" Clara parked and got out of the car. Sophie saw the cake box on the passenger seat and clenched her fists, her knuckles white. "Clara, are you even human? Liam's funeral is being planned, and you can't even be bothered to show up, but you have time to buy cake for someone else." Maya eyed Clara coldly, standing beside Sophie. Clara's face was a hard mask as she reined in her anger. "It's one thing for his other friends to help Liam lie, but you two as well. What did he offer you to help him with this ridiculous charade?" She strode over and yanked a wreath from its stand. "You've even got these ready? Are you trying to turn this into an even bigger spectacle? Are you going to plaster it all over the news?" Before she could finish, Maya suddenly slapped her, hard. Blood trickled from the corner of Clara's lip. For the first time, a flicker of panic showed in her eyes. Maya was our mutual friend, always the most level-headed and serious one in our group. She never joked about things like this. As if desperately trying to find a rational explanation, Clara started fumbling for her phone to call me. "He was just texting Ethan today. How could he be dead? You're all trying to trick me." Maya couldn't hold back any longer. She grabbed a paper effigy from the stand and started hitting Clara with it, all her strength behind the blows. "Did you see Liam send those texts? Did you hear his voice?" The bamboo frame of the effigy cut Clara's forehead. Blood began to stream down her face. In school, Clara had always been the center of attention, untouchable. No one had ever treated her like this. But even with blood running into her eyes, she stood there silently, looking like a hollow, soulless doll. Frantic and red-eyed, Clara kept trying to dial my number, paranoid and wild. She tried again and again, as if talking to Maya was a way to reassure herself. "He loves pretending to be dramatic. You just wait, he'll definitely answer." She kept calling until her lips began to tremble. Maya didn't hold back, delivering the final, crushing blow to her denial. "It's been 3 days, Clara. Have you seen Liam? Have you heard his voice? Have you checked on him even once? How can you be so certain he's still alive?" Clara looked like her soul had been ripped from her body. She collapsed into the driver's seat of her car. "For 3 days. I used to be so clingy, texting her every morning and every night, even though she rarely replied. But for 3 whole days, there had been nothing. That was unheard of. And Maya didn't lie. Clara knew that even if the whole world lied to her, Maya wouldn't. With trembling hands, she took out her personal phone, the one that had been turned off for 3 days. As soon as she powered it on, messages and missed call notifications flooded the screen like a blizzard. Most were from her mother and our mutual friends. They were all about my death. There were even a few pictures of me on a stretcher, drenched in blood. She panicked, looking helplessly at Maya, but Maya and Sophie just turned their heads away, unwilling to speak to her further. Clara's eyes were bloodshot. With shaky hands, she began sending me message after message. "Liam, why aren't you responding? Liam, stop messing around. Liam, I'm sorry. Please, just talk to me." Maya, livid, grabbed Clara by the collar and dragged her out of the car. The hospital was just across the street. I followed them into the cold, sterile morgue. Her mother rushed forward and slapped her twice, the sharp sounds echoing in the silent room. Daniel and a few of our friends watched coldly from the side. No one moved to stop her. Suddenly, I felt a sting in my own non-existent nose. My parents had passed away years ago, and I thought no one would care if I died. My mother-in-law was crying, dragging Clara to the floor next to my covered body. "For 3 days! Where the hell have you been?" she screamed. "Liam has been lying here all alone. Where were you?" Clara knelt on the cold floor, tears streaming down her face, unable to speak. Her mother kept asking, her questions tearing Clara apart. Since Clara wouldn't answer, Daniel stepped in, cruelly laying out the ugliest truth. He told everyone how Clara had spent the last 3 days in a luxurious private room with Ethan, too busy with her old flame to care that her husband was dead. Daniel leaned in and sniffed her shoulder for dramatic effect. "Nice. You even brought cake. Smells delicious." My mother-in-law staggered, nearly fainting. She clutched Clara's collar, her body trembling with rage and grief. You cut off Liam's leg for an outsider, causing him to bleed to death. And then you ran off to be with another man before Liam's body was even cold. How could I have given birth to a monster like you?" For the first time, a look of utter collapse and terror appeared on Clara's face. I didn't know he had a bleeding disorder." With another slap, Daniel hit her. "What do you know? As his wife, what do you know about him? Tell me." Clara had nothing to say. In all our years together, she had never once tried to get to know me. I was like a ghost in my own home, a functional part of the household machinery, but ultimately invisible. She stumbled to her feet and leaned over the morgue slab, refusing to believe it. "Liam can't be dead. How could he die? You're all lying to me. He's so young, it can't be fatal. I've overseen situations just like this hundreds of times without a mistake." She was laughing and crying at the same time, trying to pull back the white sheet that covered me, despite everyone's attempts to stop her. Maya shoved her away, kicking her in the chest. "Get away from him! Don't touch him with your filthy hands!" "You're all lying to me." Clara seemed possessed. She pushed everyone aside and grabbed the edge of the sheet, somehow convinced that I was underneath, playing a cruel joke on her. But as she yanked it away, my broken, icy white body was revealed. And then Clara froze. She stared blankly at my corpse, carefully reaching out a trembling hand to touch the jagged, brutal wound on my knee, a mark of her own making. She leaned in close and suddenly pinched my face, an affectionate gesture that startled me. In 7 years, she had rarely shown such closeness. I wasn't foolish enough to think it meant she loved me. I just figured the shock had finally made her lose her mind. She gently stroked my cold cheek, talking softly to herself. "Liam, please wake up, okay? I know I was wrong. Don't stay mad at me. When you get better, I'll take you to see the snow. The snow you always wanted to see." A wave of nausea washed over me. When I was alive, she just called me by my name, with no sweetness or intimacy. I was like a household appliance, only noticed when needed, shoved aside after use. She had never shown an ounce of love for me in all the years before I died. Who was she putting on this show for now? Daniel, ever my loyal friend, was disgusted by her act. He pushed her away, unable to tolerate it any longer. "He's been dead for 3 days. Who are you pretending for? You're a monster, Clara. You never deserved the goodness Liam showed you all those years. Go back to Ethan." Clara didn't fight back. She just allowed Daniel's fingernails to scratch her face, leaving bloody trails. She seemed completely lost, babbling incoherently. I never thought about leaving him. I just got so used to him always forgiving me. I thought he'd always be there. Liam would always be with me. With bloodshot eyes, she collapsed weakly to the floor. I didn't not love him. I just felt like I didn't deserve him. Watching this scene brought a fresh wave of pain. It was my unconditional love that had given her the freedom to be so reckless. She was so certain I would never leave that she gave all her tenderness to another man, knowing I'd always come running back at her slightest beckoning. A young woman's insecurities had been sharpened into blades that she used to stab the one person who loved her most in the world. She was too greedy. She wanted to relive her past with her first love, but she also wanted me to be her safe harbor, the guiding light that would always lead her home. Where in the world can you have everything? Thinking about the last 7 years, it was laughable, And yet I cried. 7 years of misplaced love, and all of it had come to nothing. After I was cremated, Clara wouldn't let go of my ashes. She wandered around like a zombie, completely lost in her own world. No one could get through to her. Daniel thought the abusive text messages were suspicious and reported them to the police. The car accident itself was strange enough that the authorities decided to investigate the two incidents together. It didn't take them long to find the truth. The person sending the texts was Ethan's cousin. Ethan had wanted to drive a wedge between me and Clara, so he had his cousin mimic my texting style to confuse her. He was having an affair with a wealthy man's wife, and to create a cover, he had seduced Clara. The car accident was planned, but not by him. Someone had tampered with the car's engine in retaliation against Ethan for one of his many indiscretions. The driver had been bribed. Through all of it, I was the only truly innocent party, and I was the one who paid the ultimate price. When Clara found out the truth, she drove to Ethan's house and killed him. But at her trial, she was deemed legally insane and committed to a mental hospital. She had completely lost her grip on reality. She spent her days cradling a baby doll, repeating the same phrases over and over. "Liam, do you like me? Liam, will you marry me? Liam, haven't you forgiven me yet? I know I made a mistake. You don't cherish what you have until it's gone. I loved Liam the most." I heard her say these things every single day, until my ghostly ears felt raw. A love that was once unforgettable was now growing blurry with the passage of time. Sometimes I felt like she could actually see me. She would often stare right at the spot where I was floating, occasionally offering a strange, vacant smile. Sometimes I felt sorry for her. Other times, I just felt a deep, hollow anger. You can't gather spilled water, Clara. Don't you understand that? The following year, a heavy snowstorm blanketed the city, and Clara died. I had just gone to visit her mother for a short while, and when I returned to the hospital, all I found was her body. During a meal, she had managed to hide a spoon. When the nurses weren't looking, she would sharpen it against the concrete walls of her room day after day, until it had a crude, knife-like edge. She had been acting so docile that the staff had grown complacent. Taking advantage of the distraction caused by the rare blizzard, she used the sharpened spoon to slice open her own wrist. As I looked down at her still form, I suddenly remembered an evening long ago, before our graduation. We were all at a farewell dinner, sharing our dreams for the future. Clara had asked me, "Liam, is there anything you really want to do?" My mind was hazy from the drinks, and I blurted out the first thing that came to mind. "I just want to see snow. A really big snowfall.